6:01. And you have everybody in attendance, right? Amy's not here. All right. This should be a fairly short and sweet anyway. So old business, the donation of land behind Pillsbury Cemetery, I still haven't heard back from that developer since our last exchange last year. And then, he just said, okay, thank you all for all that information, and we're glad to see that, you're amenable to it, and then we'll be in touch. Never heard a peep again. So, I don't know if the project's just stalled, or if that developer might be looking to sell, because this is the second person that's owned that property too, so he may just be thinking about sending it on to somebody else, so I don't know, I guess as soon as we hear more information, I'll bring it forward. I think at the last meeting we had some discussion about, I don't know if the three of you had worked together or you guys assigned anybody for that, but about people that have left town after several years and then they wanna come back and be buried. Did you guys do any research into that, into what other cemeteries were doing, or,
I did not. We had a discussion about it, but I don't think we really assigned it to anyone.
I honestly didn't know that there was a project, like an assignment moving forward. It sounded like, no, we were just gonna, on a case-by-case basis, but mostly not have
Okay.
people.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Would you like us to do something about that before the next meeting?
I don't know, I mean, again, so the rules and regulations is really what the trustees write or enforce or whatever, so if it's something that has come up to us staff members that have to take these phone calls and field these questions. It's something that does pop up. It might be good to have something in there that says, I don't know, or we can just continue just a case-by-case basis too. So that we don't tie our hands specifically.
So my only concern about that is if it's a case-by-case basis, what are we gonna base it on?
Right.
Yeah, we should have rules.
Because I'm the one who talks to the people, and I'm the one who has to say no.
Right.
And believe me, there have been some stories that I'm like, if I could let you, I would. Believe me, I would. I just so that's my concern is if it's a case-by-case basis.
So if they already own, if the family, let's say they own a plot, somebody's wife is buried there, some woman is buried there, and you can put two people there, and the husband has been out of town, then living in Florida for a few years, but then he passes away. He can always be put in that same.
Oh yeah. Oh absolutely.
So this is about buying a new one.
This is more like, I'll use myself as an example. We've raised our family in town. We've been in town now over 26 years. Let's say I'm here another 10 years, and then we retire and go somewhere warm, because that's where Mrs. wants to go, right? And then I live in Florida for 20 years, okay? And then, upon my passing, my wife would, for example, say, well, we lived in town for 35 years, and my husband was even the director of public works, and we really loved Londonderry. It's where we raised our family. We like to come back and lay him to rest there, and that's where we wanted to lay to rest. But we didn't buy him back then because somebody recommended not being able to sell him anymore. And so we do find ourselves in those situations where people that considered themselves lifelong residents of Londonderry, but they've then gone on to wherever else, and then they want to come back and be laid to rest here. And we're like, sorry, it's for residents only. Well, I was a resident for 40 years, So, those are some of this, that's what this particular bullet point was talking about, was do we want to put any kind of framework around that as to, I don't know. It's just something that if you guys want to take a look online and look at other cemeteries' rules and regulations may have about legacy purchases, or I don't know. It's something to think about. I personally, I don't know. I'm conflicted about it, but how do you draw the line? Where do you, so is it somebody that only lived in town for 10 years? That, like, what if it was only 10 years? I don't know. where has it become grander than anybody else, you know what I mean?
Do you wanna take that on, cause in case I don't get reelected?
I'll look around and see what other cemeteries do.
It might be worth just doing
Yeah.
some
You know, whether maybe
research.
people
Yeah.
say like, whether there's a majority of a certain number of years,
Yeah.
a certain time frame, or that you
Yeah.
lived here, or maybe if you have an immediate family member that still lives here, I don't know.
You know, it's not a heavy lift.
Yeah.
I think just maybe between now and spring, you know, search around, see what you might find
Oh, thank you.
and whatnot, and then we can bring that material in
Yeah.
the spring and kind of maybe
Yeah.
talk about that and see if you want to incorporate it into the rules and regulations. A perfect example might even be, and I don't like to use last people, but Reed Clark was a big
Yeah,
person in town. And then, you know, they moved to Virginia and then they passed and stuff. Now they already own plots here.
Right,
Yeah.
that's
But let's
different.
just pretend that they did,
yeah,
you know, I don't know. Do you wanna, you know, I think the first part is determining, for lack of a better term, legacy, like what would define a legacy resident? Like
Yeah.
how many years? 10 years, 15 years, 25 years, 30 years, I don't know.
Mhm.
And then how long since they've left the town? Like if, you know, if I lived here 30 years and then I retired in Florida for 30 years,
yeah,
well, come on, I mean,
Yeah.
how, you know, you wanna reach back to 3 decades ago, but if I just moved there 5 years ago and then I passed, you know,
Right.
whether it be unexpectedly or whatever,
Well, and it's trickier too, since you can't buy plots now, right?
That's
So like,
correct.
I've lived here 24 years, if,
Mm.
maybe I would wanna go buy a plot, but if I
That's correct.
can't, now what, you know?
Yeah.
that's correct. So we, and those were some of the things that we kinda chewed on a little bit when we decided to end the, you know, the planning, but it's because of the other challenges we were facing, right? Spatial needs and everything else,
Yeah,
we're running out of
yeah.
land. So, yeah.
and then you have people that move away that don't come
Yeah.
back and get married after they bought a lot of land, yeah.
Or even, you know, again, I'll just use my own parents as an example. You know, they're both with us, but let's say one of them wasn't, and then I had to take my one of either that wasn't with us, and I had to put them in a home. You know, and now they're in a home down in Methuen.
Yeah.
Right.
My parents lived in Salem for 45 years, and then he passes away at a home in Methuen. I can't come bury him in Salem.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so.
Mm.
And I like to use it because Salem's they don't have pre-sales either. They actually just got back into it, believe it or not, but only for urns, so they created some space for urns, but.
I was just thinking about that, yeah, we had talked about perhaps having a garden for just urns at some point, if that land deal came through,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
why you
Right,
said that.
right.
And that would be an opportunity to say,
Right.
if you know,
Right.
that those are open for purchase,
Right.
but the others.
So, when you kind of look at that
Mhm.
aspect, maybe think about that too, like, well, if the person had to leave the community due to a medical necessity,
Mm-hmm.
then that would be something that would be taken into consideration, but, you know, I don't know. It's just something I think that we don't have any guardrails on this topic at all in
Yeah.
our rules and regs, so, it's something that we should probably look into a little bit more, because we don't have pre-sales anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the weekend and holiday overtime rate, is all in and done and up and going, and no complaints so far, no concerns.
Have people asked for weekend burials and weekend things?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're fine with paying,
Yep.
yeah, oh,
Because they expect to pay
Yeah,
anyway, so it's
yeah.
kind of like a bonus that we
Yeah.
say,
yeah,
you don't have to.
Yeah.
yeah,
In fact, I know it's kind of shock when we even do one during the week, and they're like, oh, there's no opening fee because Bo waives the opening fee, and there's
Mhm.
no charge, and people are like, what?
yeah.
So, all right, so new business, we attended the New Hampshire Cemetery Association annual meeting,
Yeah, it was excellent,
which
yeah.
was fun and,
Yeah,
and
it
a
was,
good
yeah.
event.
Yeah,
I was
really
quite
good,
surprised
yeah.
at how many people were there.
Yeah,
The
Learned-
chicken was good.
yeah.
learned a few
It
things.
was fish.
It was fish. Learned a few things. Certainly learned about oh God, what do they call the not live burial?
Green.
Green burial.
Green burial.
burials, oh, yeah.
So that might be a topic that is, certainly looks like it's gonna start becoming an issue that might be another
Yeah.
research item too that we
Yeah,
wanna.
I think the big thing for me with green barrels is how much it's gonna cost us and how much work you guys
Yeah.
have to do.
Yeah,
Like, that's the big consideration, I think, is the extra work you guys have to do,
right,
the material we have to buy,
Right.
to, that would be the big consideration, I think.
yeah. So that's something we might wanna think about, again, subcommittee or however the
Yeah.
three of you wanna divvy it up, if somebody else wants to research that, but we might wanna start thinking about getting guardrails in place about that too.
Yeah,
So, cause before we know it, we're gonna have a call, and
yeah,
what do we say?
yeah.
No, we don't do them, well, it doesn't say that in your regs, doesn't say we do either.
Yeah.
So what
And-
is just
and
a
the real-
short synopsis? You get buried in a pine box, and what are the extra
Not even.
materials that have
No,
to go?
no,
Not even.
no.
No, not just naked in the ground. Oh,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so what other materials have to be?
Well, we have to specify, like, they can't have metal on or anything like that on, and
Yeah,
if, I don't know, if someone's gone through chemotherapy, then they have chemicals in their body, is it gonna leach out into, there's a lot of stuff to it, there's a
Yeah.
lot to it. And then for you can explain the land
Yes, so,
portion of it.
you do the burial, and then, as the decay happens, you're gonna get constant settling of the grave. So you get to constantly be going back and putting in loam and, reseeding it and getting the grass growing. That will vet itself out over a few years, but it still is a nuisance and it's a problem.
And you
and
can't
then-
mound it up like in the olden days because it
Yeah.
would be impossible to mount.
Right, and then when you need to do an excavation next to that, like now we probe and you hit the vault, you know where they are, so, you're not really gonna be able to probe, so in ground, whether you think so or not, earth moves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you could bury a body here, and 10 years from now, it could be, further over.
Mhm.
So there were those concerns. And then, embalming fluid,
Yeah.
Massachusetts was concerned about that now,
Mhm.
that your embalming fluid would then just seep into the earth. So, it's something that is ongoing in our state now too, so,
Do we have any Jewish cemeteries near us? Because they don't they do by default green burials and very rapidly without embalming?
I'm not sure.
I think they do.
To
I
be
think
honest
if
with you, I
you're
don't know.
yeah,
actually, an observant Jew, you have to be buried within a couple of days, or maybe 3
Yeah.
days, and there's no embalming.
Yeah.
But is there a coffin? Cause
Well,
this wouldn't have.
yeah.
Right,
just a
I don't know
wooden
about that,
pine
so
box,
there
I
could
thought,
be, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's something that we should probably start thinking about, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't gotten that request already. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, Denise, do you have an update on our interments and where we're at right now, what's available?
Right now, we have 49 double lots and 4 single. And I got a visit today there was a family that bought a single plot last week. Their son, who was 23, passed away. And the daughter and the father came in today and said they wanted to purchase the lot right next to it. So my question is, can we sell it to them for $575 because
For the-
technically we could make it a double?
So,
They bought 55
yeah,
Uh,
this is the one we
these-
just did yesterday.
yesterday.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is they've shifted their thoughts on what their needs are now, and they
Yeah.
wanna just get the second one right next to
Yes.
it.
Yeah, and they were very concerned because I said, I don't wanna do anything right now because I don't wanna charge you more than you
Yeah.
should pay.
Yeah.
Cause I wanted to talk to Dave.
yeah,
But, so I promised them I would put it on hold, and I did,
Okay.
so I have it on
Okay.
hold.
I don't see an issue with that, do either
No.
of you? I mean, if they
No.
came back like
Okay.
2 years from now and then
Yeah.
said something,
yeah, but
But
it's within,
it's,
yeah,
it,
a short time.
certainly when they had the
Okay.
burial, I think that's all right.
And a double lot is just two beside each other. It's
Correct.
like
Yeah.
1.5 or
Correct.
something like that. Okay.
It's,
Yeah.
it's probably good that we put them in that scenario then, because
Yeah,
if we had only put them in a single lot with nothing available on either side, that would have been the end of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so they got CC 55B and they wanna have CC 54A, cause
Okay.
that's the one right next to it,
Excellent.
cause CC 55A is taken.
Taken,
Mhm.
okay.
Alright, and,
So we have
Um,
49 of each left? That's funny.
no,
Oh,
49
four
double and
doubles.
4 single.
Oh, 4, okay.
Yeah. So we're, we're still over, 100 lots available. That's been kind of my threshold that when, as we get pretty close to that, we may have to start thinking about our expansion and getting that up and going. So that's something I'll probably be talking about with, the financial decision makers about whether if we do another I think this year we should have another allocation to our expansion needs. But we do have a new deputy director coming on board too, so, you know, that's gonna be beneficial to us in looking at that expansion and maybe perhaps contemplating doing that next year. Whether it's in the spring or summertime or something like that. I think we're getting close to the need to do the next expansion.
What does expansion mean? Does it mean purchasing property, clearing property? What does it mean?
We already have one area up there that's kind of in the queue. There's no roads in there yet, but it's just basically grass. It's a grass field, but it's sloped off. The grades will need to be brought up. There'll be an extension of the drainage and then the roads put in. And you can't wait until you're down to like only 10 lots, because you're gonna need to have a couple of years of growth of grass and get it established and everything else, lay out all the markers and everything so that it's ready, you know. So we don't wanna wait too long. 100 was my threshold when we had pre-sales, so we're not necessarily there yet, but it's time to really get a little bit more formal about looking at, you know, what we're gonna build, so. But the next one's pretty straightforward, because the area was already kind of prepped for it, years ago with the last expansion, so. We're gonna be, sending out our letters to the, funeral homes like we do every year. Usually we send it out right around the beginning of November 1st, letting them know that, hey, that we're gonna be closing. So everybody's on the same page about that. Sometimes we do let a couple of them, you know, depending on weather and depending on frost in the ground and whatnot, if we can get them in, we do prefer to try and get them in. Because, it helps out the families first of all, and then, you know, it eases the burden of the backlog come spring, so. So we'll be sending those out November 1st. And then we have on here discussion of continuing with no pre-sales. Did we ever, we're outside the 18-month window now, right? Are we not?
Not yet.
Not yet, right? We got 6 more months to go, right? It's spring. I mean,
we were gonna do it until the end of this year,
this year,
just till
right,
December.
right, that's right. They took effect in July of last year, and we were gonna go 18 months, right? Till the next
Yes.
fiscal year, so. So I guess the discussion really is do we wanna make pre-sales, no pre-sales permanent now, and continue on forward with it?
I think it's a good idea, to keep them
It-
permanent. I mean, we haven't had much pushback.
We
so-
haven't, and it has certainly, fixed the rate of consumption that we were doing
Yeah.
with the property.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I think we would have already had to have been building that expansion right now
Yeah.
to get ready. So, unless if there's any difference, I think we'll just let that sit as then permanent with the rules and regs.
Yeah.
So if one person in a family passes away, how many lots can you buy? Is 2 the maximum?
3
No.
double.
Three,
You
up
can
to,
buy
up,
3 double.
up to 3 double,
Okay.
which is even times 4, you know, that's 6 lots times 4, it's 24 urns they can do if they wanted or 6 family members. And we see that less and less. We don't see that need as much, especially when you're doing a time of interment, because again, everybody's typically a little bit further along in life, with the exception of, you know, the unfortunates like we just had this week. You know, when someone's young and they pass and then they don't know and they're unsure, you know, so that's what can happen sometimes is people they didn't really think it all the way through, but sometimes, you know, mostly people, you know, when they pass, families, structures, and people have moved where, here, there, and are all set up, and they're not necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna be buried with my mom and dad. No, you're gonna have your own wife and kids and be somewhere else. So,
Do we have any idea how many lots are purchased and not in use?
we don't, and that really all comes down to getting into better mapping needs and things of that nature. I like to think of our maps as ownership maps, but they're not really burial maps.
Right, and I actually had to explain that to someone.
Yeah.
I got an email, I think it was today.
Yeah,
Donna
yesterday
sent to me.
about the different name. or
Yeah,
whatever,
someone wanted, on the Pillsbury map, she said, my mother's buried there, but my last name's on it, can you change it? And I said, we won't change it because we use that as whoever purchased it.
Yeah.
So the name of the purchaser goes on that. It's not, we have a database that has who's buried.
Yeah.
So that's not something that we would change. But
It's something that we you know, probably in as we're now gearing up for an asset management program to come into town with OpenGov and whatnot, and it does have a module in cemetery, so as we get others stood up, that's something that I think we should probably start looking at. But it's gonna be a big lift, because it's gonna take a monumental amount of time to pull out every record and figure out, okay, so these 4 graves are owned by this family, and then here's who's buried in them, and then we know, or we think, because our records are, there's a lot of unknowns. So, because it's been a volunteer thing for so long, that things came and went,
Wow,
so we don't know.
that's crazy.
The perfect example is even with the Reeds. We're meeting out there Monday to try to figure it out.
Right, poke around and see what you can find?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
because we don't even know, they have 2 graves, but we don't know which one they want them in.
Okay, and there's some people who are buried there, but you're not sure how many?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, but sometimes you don't know where they were buried because they're such an old grave. You know, we're over in Glenwood, no, we're not up in Pillsbury. Pillsbury is pretty straightforward. Pillsbury
Yeah.
would be pretty easy to figure out, you know, how many are unused.
Yeah, and we have
But-
most of the information.
But then
for
you gotta,
Pillsbury.
yeah, and then you've gotta even kinda, it would be great to know that, but it would be a lot of work to get that answer. And again, what is it that you're trying to figure out? Because you could say, okay, well, up at Pillsbury, we've sold 1,000 graves, but only 500 of them are occupied. And you're like, wow, that means there's 500 graves that we could maybe do something with or whatever. You have no idea what all those families, their intent is, whether if they'll use it a year, 10 years, 50 years, never use it.
I know,
You know.
maybe it's unrealistic, but I was just thinking if you knew and you could do like a buyback program where you
Well-
recouped some of them.
Well, we talked about that at
Yeah.
it was one of the topics that was brought up at the Cemetery Association meeting. And there is a process for that, but what was it? Was it 50 years? that you
Yeah.
said? It was,
They you could just take it back.
Back.
If you can't, yeah.
Right.
You have to advertise in the local paper
Right,
and
yeah.
all this other stuff, yeah.
yeah,
Like if you can't find the relative, but it has to be after 50 years.
Right.
You have to
So-
advertise, yeah.
that, and again, to do that too is another monumental lift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like a very difficult and
Yeah.
fraught process, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, but no, it's an excellent question. I do wish we had burial maps rather than ownership maps. I'm surprised that we don't, but that's just based because of whatever previous sextons were doing, so. But Pillsbury is, for the most part, we know exactly, you know, who's buried where and whatnot. So, any other business that I'm not thinking of, or anything that topics that anybody wanted to bring up or curious about,
Are
or
we
questions?
gonna talk about eventually columbariums for the, building those, or sorta?
I think so. The
Yeah.
problem with columbariums, like
Yeah.
we've all discussed, is just the capital to do it.
Yeah,
I think at some point, I think there is going to be a definitive need for that.
yeah,
But I don't necessarily know that that's anytime soon
Yeah.
right now. We did have somebody that was looking at those, did we not?
that was
Or was it the previous
girl,
board?
yeah, was
The-
it Karen, her name was?
Yeah.
And then she didn't come to the next meeting because she didn't rerun, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think that went by the wayside,
Yeah.
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 But they gave us some vendor names to look at,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, you're at a minimum on
Yeah.
any one of those at $300,000
Yeah.
to get going. So I mean, I think it's something that probably after this next build out, because
Mhm.
it'll keep the cemetery symmetrical too.
yeah,
And then the next expansion that goes closer towards Woodmont is gonna be much more involved with construction and whatnot.
yeah,
And that's the other thing too, I'd like to see, I mean, if we can continue to, as, right now, we're going through a little bit of a transition with Public Works
Mhm.
right now, we're bringing in people and we're bringing on a new engineer and everything, and I'd like to almost see if we can do some of the work in-house at the cemetery too,
Mhm.
because it's pretty straightforward, the next
Yeah.
section, so we might be able to do it in-house. And then save some money and keep that in reserves for a capital
yeah,
investment, like a columbarium on the next, because the next one's gonna be very significant, because
Mhm.
there's a drainage swale that will have to be relocated, some additional, stormwater that will have to be done. And if we're gonna get into a real extensive, construction project like that, that's when a columbarium might fit in, if we
Yeah.
have but I think those would be a good, candidate for pre-sales.
yeah,
Because you can almost say, hey, we're gonna look at one that holds, 40 urns,
yeah,
and start pre-selling them, so that we could then have some money up front for the capital too. You can pre-sell them before you even build them, you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's an approach to
Yeah.
it, so.
Reminds me of that episode of Modern Family when they're like meeting their neighbors of who's gonna be in the urns next to them.
Yeah. But there's a whole, I mean,
Yeah.
and it was funny when we talked about that at the cemetery meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things there with the gentleman that did the presentation
Yeah.
for up in Boscawen.
Yeah.
There could be another whole set of rules for those,
Yeah, definitely, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
about maintenance and upkeep
Yeah.
and what's appropriate to do there and
Yeah.
things you can hang on them and,
yeah,
yeah,
and what to put inside,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
For sure. So, any other new business anybody wants to bring to the table? Otherwise, we can certainly set the date for our next meeting in the spring, and that'll give us some time to do a little bit of homework. Let's see. Usually we meet in April, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we go after tax day, right, the 15th, because we'll all be rushing to get our taxes in. And we usually do a Thursday, right?
Yeah. So the 16th.
Let's see. Yeah, we can do the 16th or the 23rd. What, does anybody have a preference?
What day is Easter? I think
Ooh,
it's
good
the
question.
Easter's
It's
the
the
5th.
5th. Okay,
The 5th, yeah.
then I don't care.
Why don't we go with the 23rd? It's the day after Earth Day. So why not? We'll go with April 23rd at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'll see if I'm reelected.
Yeah, and that'll just give you both a little bit of time. So, if you want to look into, thinking about, legacy rules and stuff like that. And what was the other thing we said we want to talk about or kind of dive into a little bit?
Green burials.
And then,
Yeah.
you wanna take that on? Do you wanna look into that, research that a little bit, and she can do that, or?
You want to do it? I don't know if I'm going to be here. That's the only thing.
Oh.
If I'm not elected.
Oh, you're gonna be elected.
That's a good
If
point.
I just.
I'm kind
I
of curious
really
about it
know.
actually.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I'll look into it.
Okay,
I can help and send you stuff, and
yeah,
yeah.
we've got plenty of time between
Yeah.
now and then, so,
I know Lebanon, New Hampshire has a lot of regs on that, so that's a good one
Yeah,
to look at.
yeah.
Yeah.
Will columbariums be another one to look into?
I think we
Oh,
could just
yeah.
sidebar that one for now, and
But
then
maybe we should go through the regs next meeting and divvy them up like more,
Yeah,
like and see what needs to be updated.
okay, we can put that,
Yeah.
we'll leave that as an agenda item for the next, meeting. Just a review, I think that's a good idea, to take out the
Yeah.
rules and regs, and maybe we'll go through them in the April meeting. Alright,
Sounds
All
good.
right.
alright, and I need a motion to adjourn at 6:33.
So
Motion?
moved. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
I'll
no,
second
you-
you.
Okay.
There you go. Alright,
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
alright,
Thank you,
alright,
guys.
thank you both.
Thank-